One, we've bought it cheaper. Two, we've made more money on it while we owned it. And three, its ceiling has been pushed higher than it would have been. So we're likely to sell it for a higher price than if we had just bought it as a 40, operated it as a 40, sold it as a 40.
Welcome into the Get Invested podcast, a podcast about all things real estate and real estate investing, brought to you by Capital Velocity Investments and a part of the Matthias Talks Investing Substack.
Hello. Welcome into another edition of the Get Invested podcast. I'm Jordan.
I'm Matthias.
And we're both excited to be here to talk all things investing, real estate, and real estate investing. We're doing our normal kind of zig and zag, I guess you could say, from technical to non-technical to technical again. This week, we're going to dive into economies of scale as that pertains to property, I guess, asset management. Not necessarily property management, but
yeah, asset management. Well, it ties into a bunch of it. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're excited to jump into that, but I guess before we do that, what's been going on with you?
Well, it's finally winter in Destin. It is cold outside.
Oh, okay.
Very cold. I have begun as of Tuesday, when the cold front hit on Tuesday. I've been getting in the pool every morning, going 2 minutes in the pool, and it's quite cold.
What's the weather? What's the weather of the water? What's the temperature of the water?
If I had to guess, our thermometer broke last year, so I don't have one in there right now. But if I had to guess, and judging from doing it in the past, it's probably about mid to high 40s is where I'd put it right now. It's been really windy. It's like 41 out there right now, and it's been dipping near 30s overnight, pretty much every day this week. On that same note, we're going camping this weekend. We booked a tent camping, so we're gonna freeze. We're gonna die, but we're gonna have a good time.
Wait, so there's a place you're going where you can like basically say, "Hey, we need a tent," and it's like set up when you get there. Is that what you mean?
No, we have a tent. We have a tent. And we booked a spot, like on a campground kind of thing.
Okay, I thought
we used to do way back in the day, kind of thing. So we'll go, bring all our supplies, set up the tent. I bought a Blackstone griddle yesterday. It's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. So we can do sausage and eggs and stuff in the morning. And
okay,
yeah, we're gonna do.
Have Ethan and Aaron ever done this kind of camping?
Ethan and I have done this type of camping with scouts overnight once before, and then we've done sleeping in the tent in the backyard many times before. Jen has never participated. Well, I take that back. Jen has done it once recently. We set up the big tent this last time we did it in the backyard. It must have been over the fall, like towards like November or something when we did it. Set up the big tent in the backyard, which will sleep all of us very comfortably, with room for supplies and stuff too, which is what we're going to take, obviously. But it'll fit like our air mattress. So Jen and I slept on the air mattress. Yeah, so it's a serious tent, which is cool. And I didn't
mattress to this thing. This weekend. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise we'll be going without Mom. That's so.
Oh, okay.
That's on the list of. That's on the no go list.
I got you.
Yeah, but we're they keep revising the weather forecast lower and lower. We're gonna go because it's a long weekend. We got the holiday on Monday, so we're gonna go Saturday and Sunday night as we record this, obviously. So
Monday is the holiday, huh?
No school on Monday, so we're gonna chance the wilds. We're gonna stay near some water. We'll do some fishing.
I was going to ask you, just a park, is it like a national park area, or is it just?
It's a Florida park, Florida reserve. I'm not sure if it meets like all the standards, but it's a cool, like a campground, a legit campground near the water.
Is there woods?
We'll be able to, plenty of woods. Yeah, so we'll go hiking trails and all that stuff.
Are you gonna trick Ethan into snipe hunting, or is he too young?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about it, but
I gotta say, it was about his age when we got tricked into it.
The problem is it's almost required to have buddies the same age for it to really, because you got to have that crosstalk between everybody going, "This is nonsense," and the other guy going, "Well, I don't know, I heard." And this the conversations.
That's true. Also, somehow it just seems it doesn't seem as fun and borderline cruel just to do it like to your one kid versus like a whole group of them.
It's like he's wandering around in the woods by himself. I don't know that that's a thing that I could talk Jen into, but we got to figure out something soon for sure.
So yeah, you need to do it when like next time like the Boy Scout troop goes. That's when it needs to happen. Also, I feel like you need multiple adults to sell it. I remember that's why it worked on us is because
because we're like all the dads can't have talked about this.
Yeah, they're
even though they clearly did.
They did. Yeah, but the fact that multiple people know about it makes it seem like it's real, right? Like
exactly.
All of them are like, yeah, Snipes is totally a thing. You're like,
I was like, they run through the woods. You got to have the pillowcase.
Yeah, at that age, enough adults say it. You're gonna be like, okay, well, it has to be true.
This must be real. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
100%. No, but we'll have a good time. We may end up staying in the tent in our sleeping bags the whole time because it's so cold. But it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited. I'm doing I got a lantern yesterday. Got the griddle. I've got all my gear that I'd never get to play with.
Right.
That the Air Force gave me for all my survival stuff. So I've got thermal everything. I'm not gonna get cold. The boys might and Jen might, but I'm set.
Right. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Rachel has never been camping. I doubt it'll ever happen. Last time I went camping was with the family, and it was cool. We were in the mountains in Virginia, but it rained all one day and night. Ugh. And I had borrowed
that's miserable
a tent from a buddy, and it was just me. I only needed a tent for myself, so I was like, whatever your smallest one is. He's like, I got a 2-person, which is, by the way, a lie.
Anyway, it could have been 2 little persons.
Yeah, so this thing I ended up sleeping diagonally to
fit,
and
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it looked like when I'm moving around, it looks like someone in a womb, I'm pushing
Ace Ventura trying to get out of the rhino.
Yeah, just all this just body shapes pushing fabric out, but it also leaked because the tent was fine. It's a good tent, but it rained so much that I just awoke to nature's Chinese water torture. It was dripping on my face. But, believe it or not, I actually did have a good time. It was just that one night wasn't the best, but I miss camping. I haven't been since then. That was probably two years ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about just gathering around a campfire, especially when it's you'll never have better sleep than when you're warm enough in a cold environment in a tent. You'll sleep. That's the best sleep ever.
It's incredible. Yeah.
So I'm excited. We'll have a good time. Jen's apprehensive, and as the forecast keeps getting colder, she starts getting more worried. But we'll be fine.
I feel like being from Iowa, she should be better than this.
She's fully Floridized. She is. We don't do the winter.
Yeah,
I'm with her. I don't like being cold either, but I don't. As long as I can shield myself from it, I'm good. And having a fire is all I need.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. I mean, we went while we were up in Ohio in Cleveland. We went snow tubing at this place with because Rachel's sister Allie has a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. I want to say 6-year-old. So I think they're both a little bit older than your respective kids.
Sure.
But so they've actually been going skiing on the bunny slopes.
Nice.
And yeah, so we went. It was fun. It was a big hill, huge hill. I just thought about this because they had a fire, but it was not a very good one. There was a fire pit, but for whatever reason, the company, the business just had not built it back up again. So you had to literally stick your hands into it to get warm. You're into the fire pit, but no, it was a cool time. But they had a moving sidewalk to go back up the hill, so you didn't have to walk. Exactly.
People mover.
And the thing was so slow, and everyone stood on it instead of walking with it.
Oh,
yes.
No.
Now,
it's when people do that,
we're just going to get to the top and have to stand in line, so it wasn't but it drove me crazy. A couple of times, I just walked down the middle, where literally just up the big ramp, and just walked past all of these people just standing there with their tube. I'm like, nice. Oh, especially when it was kids, and I'm like, guys, you're supposed to be full of energy. Just run up the hill. Come on, man. But yeah, it was funny because there's just a bunch of people standing there like barely moving. When I'm like, this, at least in the airport when they have moving sidewalks, like there's very clear directives. That's like, if you want to stand to the right,
Get to the side. Yeah, other people have things to do.
Yeah, well, there wasn't dual tracks or anything, but it was pretty funny just how slow that thing moved and how people just were content to take like a literal 2 minutes to go up a hill that if I were to sprint, it would take like, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 maybe. Well, I got to come up with something good to say about what's up with us, because Rachel scolded me after listening to the last episode. She said, you just told us that there was nothing going on. I was like, I don't know. I just kind of blanked. But again, I'm like, what are we doing? The only thing we're getting ready for is Rachel has that shoulder surgery on the early February. Mm-hmm. She is currently in the running for the second year in a row for Counselor of the Year in her district. Nice. Which is a pretty big deal because the district is huge. Yeah, you're talking like.
Does that come with like a bonus or what kind of accolades is that? A trophy or something?
Yeah, there's going to be like a plaque or something, and like you get honored at a big meeting. That's about if you win, and and then it's like kind of disseminated through newsletters and stuff like that, and it'll be announced and maybe a little thing in the newspaper. I don't know if the Charlotte Observer would do anything on that, but no, that's about it. I wish there was like a cash bonus, but no, that's not how it works in the education game. But if you do get, I think at that point you go, and then she would be like running for Counselor of the Year for the state.
Nice. There you go.
What it does do though is like if ever she wants to move on, nice little resume, little thing there.
Sure.
But other than that, we're in the thick of conference basketball for college hoops, which obviously, as you are the same, is a very serious thing. And
I had a good Tuesday this week. Very good Tuesday.
I'm just gonna say
you're on the other end of that pendulum.
I don't think I've ever felt. There's no way I've ever felt worse about a 14-3 team. Like I just one that speaks to how spoiled. Well, both of us, but I am being, Carolina grad. But two, they just don't look like
uninspired.
Yeah, especially at the guard position, especially in defense, and then that drives me crazy. It's like they've never been taught how to get through a screen. Okay, don't get me started. This will turn into like
we'll just do a whole 45-minute podcast on college basketball.
Yeah, the downfalls of switching. Anywho, so our lives are full and rich. Even if I don't go into specifics, I just want that to be made.
I'm taking a note of it right now.
Made clear to all listening. You know me, I'm not one to like, let's go do a lot of things. But
me neither, but
camping sounds fun.
We are this time.
I'm a little jealous about that. Now, one last thing before we move on. You run and jump into the pool for your plunge, right? No, or do you walk out into it?
I walk into it.
Okay, the picture you posted one time about it, I'm pretty sure you were jumping in, but
no, I've never.
Oh no! So you walk out into it, and then
I was in. Yeah, I walked down the steps. You have to go with purpose because otherwise you'll never get all the way in. You just got to go. You take a few steps. There's a bunch of like. It's been windy, so there's a bunch of crap in the pool. Like our pool guy comes probably today actually, so maybe all cleaned up. But so I just kind of like anything that's there, I just get it out of the way. Then you walk in and then just go under, because if you don't, it's. It's miserable either way. Don't get me wrong. It's quite painful, and it takes a good 30 seconds to catch your breath at least, depending on the shock. But
YouTube user, take me out, I want to say is the handle. Anyways, yeah, I promised him that I would bring this up to you, that you say there's nowhere great to stop between
oh yes,
Destin
okay,
and Gulfport or Hattiesburg, whichever, because you're driving on 10 either way. And he pointed out that there's a Buc-ee's right there on the way, which are always convenient to get to. And always a wonderful experience and cheaper gas. So as he pointed out, you're doing it wrong. I think his phrasing. No, I think he just said you are wrong if you're not stopping.
I am wrong.
I concur. I concur with him.
Yep.
You are wrong.
The only defense I have is that when I noticed it, which is recently, and it's just, we looked it up when you told me about this, it is just west of Pensacola, still in Florida, or maybe it's right across the line. I don't know, but it's right near the state line, Alabama-Florida state line.
Mm-hmm.
One, I was in a hurry, and two, it's always pleasant, but it is an experience. You don't just get in and out of a Buc-ee's quickly. You know what I mean? You're gonna go. You could if you needed to. I
guess I've gotten practiced. It's zip in, get gas, park, walk in, get the brisket sandwich. Use
that's already more than I was trying to. I get what you're saying. Yes, and it's always very clean too. So yes, what is it? Get me out? Is get me out or get me out?
I think it's take me out.
Take me out. Okay. Yep, you are correct. And I will stop there. There's no way I won't at some point stop there. And now that I know exactly where it is, I owe it to everyone to do that next time. So thank you very much for pointing that out. You are correct. I did notice it once. And the only excuse I had for not stopping there was that I was in a hurry.
Honestly, I should have planned better. I was going to have like my t-shirt, maybe like the little Bucky. I had like a little Bucky the cats play with. I've got all kinds of things. Rachel's got a hoodie. Like they're putting one in basically the triangle, right outside the triangle.
Oh, nice.
So on the way to Chapel Hill, essentially. I think it's going to be ready, not this, like next year. Very excited. So it's going to be like an hour and a half away. Currently the closest one's like 5 or something, but yeah. So do better, I guess, is what I'm saying to you. Okay, well, we've been yammering for a while now, so we probably should jump into it. I'm just going to turn it over to you because
all I really wanted to discuss is kind of something that we're starting off the year. We're making offers, looking at properties, getting after it. Very, very bullish on how the market is looking to, especially in what we're looking at these days. And I just wanted to talk through our strategy and why we like it so much. Why I think it's going to be such a good year for us, and how we're positioned, I guess, is a good way to say it. So really what I think is basically our competitive advantage in some of these markets is, so I guess let me outline real quick what most people that do what I do. They start off, they buy a small apartment complex, either with their own money or with a few friends and family. Excuse me. Then they, once that's successful, established, whatever, they find another one that's bigger. Let's say the first one is 12 units, second one maybe 40 units. And they kind of, all the friends and family they can, everybody that they've talked about in their own money in that 40 unit. And then the next one is going to be 100 unit, and they're going to start. By then they've established themselves a little bit. They got a little bit of a track record, and their goal is to get onto the big properties. So nobody wants to hang out in the 40 unit range. Everybody wants to go on to, because once you get up to like 100, 200 units, you got better debt. It's less work because you have more employees that are doing all the work. It'll support full staff on these properties, that kind of thing. And then you can get to, you have a track record, you can advertise to accredited investors. So then, let's say for your 200 unit property, you got to raise $10 million. Well, you can raise that with $100,000 checks a lot easier than you can raising $5 million from $25,000 checks or whatever. So it's just the way investing works. So everybody aims to ramp up as quickly as they can and pass through this kind of transition. The 40 unit, the 70 unit, those are transitional, and most people don't target those. And institutional buyers, hedge funds, all those people they don't bother with smaller units. It's not worth their time. They'd rather spend the same amount of time and deploy $10 million on a big property than spending the same amount of time doing the due diligence and underwriting the deals and buying a 70 unit and only being able to deploy $2.5 million or whatever. So basically there's a middle ground where beginning people can't handle a 70 unit just yet. They only have 2 single family houses under their belt. It's going to be hard for them well, one, to know what they're doing, and two, to buy to scrape together the investors or whatever it takes to buy that 70 unit complex. So my thought is we're established, we've got partnered on hundreds of units and control over 100 units ourselves. We're established a long track record of doing deals and being, you know, real operators in the space. We've alluded to it and talked about it before, but it makes us have a very strong offer. When we present an offer on a 40 or 50 unit, it's almost like we're coming back down to an area like, hey, these guys are capable of doing more, have a bunch, you know, but they're coming to this. It's a lot stronger offer than somebody who's trying to make that leap up and who's taken the you know, what does this guy own that's making an offer? Oh, well, he owns, you know, the 2 houses or whatever. So, okay, so a guy who owns 2 houses making an offer on our 40 unit, who's never operated multifamily before, or who's only operated a triplex before, he's going to be look his any research they do on the buyer. I'm talking as like from the seller's perspective. Any research they do on the buyer, they're going to do research on me. I'm making an offer on the same property. They're going, oh, this guy owns, you know, hundreds of units and has been doing this for years. So he's a lot more serious of a buyer, and I trust him to be able to do it because he has a track record of being able to do it for a while. So that's an advantage, I think. Let's say we offer the same price, they're almost always going to go with my offer, provided, you know, the terms are not crazy. For, you know, all else being equal, they'll go with my offer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's an advantage to have. And what that does mean is that I can offer less, and they're probably still going to go with me unless they take a chance on somebody. It's less of a chance to go with me, and all the brokers want to do. Let's say there's a listing agent on this property, he's going to push them to go towards whoever he thinks can close the most. Yeah. The broker is, because he doesn't get paid until the deal closes. He goes, yeah, the guy who owns the triplex may be offering more than Matthias, but we've never seen him close anything close to this size of deal before, or operate it or anything. Matthias has a track record of doing just that. So even though it's less money, it could save you money in the long run, because you could get under contract. This guy could flake out. He could not be able to close any number. He couldn't qualify for whatever it might be. That gives us a competitive advantage. And I think that's worth something especially with investors. I think we're eliminating a lot of risks when we're able to do that. Because you know me, I try to minimize all the risks possible to investors before pulling a trigger. And I think us having the strongest offer, even though we may be offering a lower overall price, I think that very much does minimize the risk to investors, in you know, all else being equal in a marketplace, if that makes sense. This is purely on the. So we're going to talk through a few points of why I think we have a competitive advantage. This is just the first one. It's like, just in these, who's operating in this space. I think I'm going to be the most qualified buyer in this niche space. You know, let's say 30 units to, 80, 90 units or whatever.
Yeah. So, there's just a few things. We've talked about this before. I'm sure many people understand this, but just so that we're all on the same page. In a deal like this, it's not like going to buy a house where you like show up with a pre-approval letter, right? So that's kind of what you're talking about, is that the pre-approval is going to be, that's not a thing, but you show up with the fact that, hey, I already own things like this. Mm-hmm. Indicates that you will be able to secure financing and actually buy the property versus someone who is trying to do it for the first time. But I wasn't quite clear on what you meant by how this mitigates risk for our investors. I mean, I know there's a number of different ways. What exactly is it that?
My main thing is that I'm able to buy at a discount, all else being equal, because I have a stronger offer and the track
lower
record.
Basis. Therefore,
we're leveraging we're going to get a lower basis than the average Joe, because a seller's going to go, hey, I'm not going to sell to you. I need a risk premium, I guess. If I'm going to go under contract with you, take my property off the market, and you know, potentially lose 30, 60, 90 days of marketing time when I'm trying to sell, then I'm more comfortable doing that for a discount from Matthias than I am with a guy who's on his way up. That's kind of what lower basis is kind of the
right. Okay. So
the point.
I just was trying to connect this kind of the reputation walking in to how that translates. Like Matthias said, we've mentioned this kind of thing before, and I think one of the ways that I've put is we're talking about scaling, and what you're talking about is everybody wants to scale in one direction, right? They want to go up in size of building or property, not building. Whereas we're trying to scale laterally, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're trying to scale in the amount of properties of a certain size rather than leave that size.
Which is a perfect segue into my next point. So continue, but
oh no, that was it. Like, because there's advantage to that besides the fact of walking and getting a lower basis. If you scale in a certain size of property, especially in a market, for like a better term, if you have great penetration into a market, there's another advantage. And I know that's where you were headed with this.
Yeah. So here's another issue with why people don't buy these properties. Is because per unit, the smaller it is, the more expensive a lot of costs are. Typically, your management costs go up as the per unit, as you go from 70 to 20 units, it's going to be way higher. Like the percentage of income that you dedicate towards paying maintenance, towards paying contract services and management, all of those, which are pretty big costs, go up the smaller you get. However, which is, well, let me say, if you're buying a 40 unit somewhere, you have to, independently, you have to take all those costs, and you're buying, assuming those costs. Now, any other buyer who's on his way up is going to be assuming those costs the same. And that's the price that it's going to demand, or that the seller is going to be able to get for that property. However, what if I have 3 different 40 unit properties in the same market that I can share those costs, and my cost per unit on management, on maintenance, on all these individual, on painting, power washing, all these different things that happen on a property, all those costs go down if I own multiple 40, 50 unit, 25 unit properties in the same market, that I can leverage economies of scale around the same, let's say, area of a city. Now, because it's still a 40 unit property, I'm going to buy it based on what everybody else would have to do to operate that thing independently. Whatever percentage the owner is paying for property management is a good assumption for whatever the new owners, if not even a little higher for a new owner to pay for property management. Well, I can buy it based on those financials, but I can operate it with significantly less cost. So because it's a small property, it's going to be priced a certain way, but I can operate it as if it's part of a big property, meaning I've got these economies of scale because I'm buying 2, 3, 4 properties in the same area of the same size, but I can operate them as one. So now I'm operating it with the same efficiency of a 200 unit complex. Commercial real estate is valued on income, net income, so after expenses income. So I'm buying them at a discount and operating them more efficiently, so my income is going to be higher. Now they're worth a lot more once I buy them and plug them into my system, and that's a real thing. So the more properties I buy, small properties I buy, and meld together in terms of the operations, I'm going to turn the per unit cost of all the expenses is going to go down over the portfolio.
Yeah. In the scenario where CVI, a company X, is buying at a discount, right, because of reputation coming in, right, probably can get a little bit lower price. But on the other side, I guess you're buying it. In this instance, we have a higher ceiling than other people, I think is. So there's the discount. I just wanted to separate the two. There's the discount. 2
separate discounts. Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to be the discount, and wanted to be kind of more, there's like a higher ceiling. I mean, you can think about it as like the potential of a player. We were talking about college basketball earlier, right? Like the amount of net operating income that can be made on that property is higher as part of the hub, as if we of all of them together,
right,
than someone who owns one individually.
Excellent. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Right. Because property management is going to fall under the same umbrella. Maintenance is going to fall under the same umbrella. Like you're bundling. Not to bring State Farm into it.
Yeah. 100%. That's exactly it. Yeah,
exactly. You're bundling costs to bring cost basis down, which, if your expenses are less to run a property, of course, that means you have more revenue.
Your net is going up,
which means that then, of course, the value of the property is going to go up. your cap rate comes down, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, exactly. So I this is kind of I guess a little bit of a tangent, but not entirely. This is something we're doing, right? Do you ever think about what's the distance? What is the distance within, like, what's the, I guess I should say, proximity that they have to be for this to work? Like the logistical answer to that.
Probably about 15, 20 minutes is probably a way to maximize the efficiency between properties.
Yeah, right.
And like, so for instance, in our operation in Gulfport, we have an office that's within 15 minutes of one of our properties, but we could buy other properties that may not be within 15 minutes of that property, but as long as they're within 15, like a hub and spoke, think hub and spoke in a very localized market. One of the drawbacks of buying smaller properties is that there's often not on-site management. Meaning you can't just walk into an office at a 40 unit typically and say, hey, I'd like to talk to the manager. I'm thinking about renting. But if the manager can be there in less than 15 minutes, anybody who drives by, sees a sign, calls the number and says, hey, I'm interested in looking at this property. The manager goes, awesome, no big deal. I'll be there. I'll show you a unit or whatever in the next, however. If there's no vacancy at that particular property and you have 2 or 3 other options in the area, they only need to drive by one. They may not end up living in that one. But if everything is co-located, you can pass them around, say, hey, we've got units open over here. If we don't have availability or this one doesn't work for you, for this, that, and the other reason, we actually have ones here and here.
Yeah, right.
I can show you those as well.
They see property X, they call and say, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They're like, well, that property doesn't actually have it, but this one does.
Yeah, exactly. So we're more efficient with our marketing in that way too. So, they can call about one, we can pass them to another that may be a better fit or where we actually have vacancy. So that's just another economy of scale.
And we talk about it all the time. We live so online that I think people assume that, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I just feel like we have interactions with the internet on a daily basis. I know people our age do for sure, but to the point that I think a lot of people would be surprised how much room there is to be better than other properties at making your stuff available to be found online. I guess that's a really clunky way of saying, basically, because if you do that right, they can find a property or they can find you, and then you can be led to other things. It doesn't have to be stumble on it, right? Like they can search and then you can say, oh, here are all the ones that we actually have. And that allows you to have the hub rather than have someone on site of that
exactly
property. Right?
Yep.
I mean, I know, gosh, I guess last time this was trying to buy a house, and way before that, looking at property, sometimes I don't think we do this, but they literally just gave me a code. Like they got my ID or whatever, and then I just showed up by myself and typed in a code to a lock and like walked around and looked at it and then like closed it behind me. The ways in which you can make sure people can see your property is manifold. If lots of rental agencies do that now, where no one even comes out with you. You just they know who you are and they know when you were there.
Well, they give you a discrete code too, so it's your code. They know Jordan is the only person we gave this code to is Jordan. So if something happens to the property after this code is punched in before the next code, then we know that it was probably that Jordan guy. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, not only can they track you down, I mean, if it's an empty unit, the risk is minimal because I mean, you have to be just some kind of like very strange like psycho person to walk and be like, I'm just gonna rip this faucet out of the wall or like whatever. So I say all that to say it makes the concentration, like the property management part, even more possible because like you said, it is nice to be able to walk in and be like, hey, I want to see a unit. And I mean, we do our secret shopping sometimes and that's exactly what I do, but economies, efficiencies, there's other ways to do it. Yeah. And on that note, just you talk maintenance a little bit. You on a small property, and I know this from experience, like let's say there's a shower that's leaking and you're going to have to replace the faucet set on the, and dig into the wall on the property, in this particular shower. Well, we're going to have to call a plumber out if it's a small property because we don't have a handyman on site. That can go do this type of thing. Maybe it's not super technical that only a plumber could do it, but if we're gonna call somebody out to do it anyway, we're gonna call a plumber, right? And that's typically the case with a 40 unit. Like you may have a guy that does most of your handiwork, but you can't afford to pay him a full-time livable handyman salary because you just don't have that much work on your 40 unit property.
You're basically one of his like bigger clients and or accounts, essentially.
Right, exactly. Now you start piecing together 40 units, a total of 80 units, total of 130 units. Now we can afford a full-time handyman, and the cost of calling that plumber out, the $100 visit fee, the premium he charges for the job, that a plumber is going to do. Your handyman, you pay a salary to, so he's yours on any given day of the week, and he can bundle his trips to each properties. You're more efficient that way, and you save hundreds and hundreds of dollars per issue on like I said, those hey, it's going to cost us $100 to come out and give an estimate. That's super common. What doesn't matter what it is. That's just a thing, because people don't want to drive 30 minutes and give an estimate because they know you're going to get 2 more, and then they get outbid by another guy. Now they've just wasted, it took them 30 minutes to look at the issue and give you the estimate, 30 minutes to drive, 30 minutes to drive back. That's 90 minutes, an hour and a half of not being paid, basically. So everybody charges visit fees and things like that. So we save on all of that. We do have to, whenever there's something a plumber or electrician or whatever, a specialist has to come out and look at, we can do that. But our handyman in this scenario knows up to what level he can work on, and he can communicate even better with that electrician or plumber or whatever, what's going on, because he's looked at it already. If we're calling out we have another layer of insulation between us and spending more money than we need to, I guess. Yeah. In that scenario. And so that's why I say that the maintenance costs go down. So, paying his salary, the average job cost goes, I don't know, we probably save 30-40%, if not more, per job versus an individual 20 unit property. You know what I mean? Where it's $300 to fix every faucet that leaks or every whatever on the 20 unit property. Now it's, $60 worth of, maybe $25 worth of supplies to fix whatever it is, and an hour of a handyman time dedicated to that. So we're saving buku dollars, being able to have our own guy that now all the properties are joining together to share that cost versus the one at a time. That's when I say saving on maintenance, that's the biggest way that we do it with bigger properties.
Well, putting together a bunch of smaller properties, and then
having a bigger units spread, I guess.
Right. This works no matter how much you scale out, because you get 400 units. Say you've put together a portfolio of, say, 400 units now. Sure. That's probably too much for one property manager or one handyman, but that's not an issue. You just add to the centralized
team. Yeah. We just have 2 handyman, 3 handyman, 4 handyman, whatever. Plus, yeah.
Exactly. But the efficiencies are there even in multiple, I guess.
You don't outgrow efficiencies.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Okay. You can, once you achieve them, they only get better.
Right. And so, the interesting thing to me, I'm just thinking moving forward, like if you're kind of moving through the investment, is since every one of these is technically going to be its own thing, right? But they're all under the banner of CDI, and it's going to have different investors in different ones. The way in which we communicate the more money, the savings, whatever, is always going to be a little bit different. I guess that's what I'm thinking. Like each property is going to be kind of specific in some of the ways that it works, but under the umbrella of all of them, every single place is going to operate at a lower basis, therefore make more money, which when you come to the end of the investment, obviously matters a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So really what we've talked about is that we're able to buy them at a lower basis than our competition. We're able to operate them for higher net income with lower expenses than our competition, if we bundle them together like we're talking about. And then I think the other big advantage of doing what our bread and butter is here is that opens up the opportunities on the back end. So like we talked about earlier, if you sell a 40 unit property, you have the same limitations that we're talking about our competition having when they bought, in terms of I'm going to have to sell it based on somebody paying a higher cost of property management, maintenance, all those different things for the 40 unit. However, if we sell, our 200 150, 250, however many units we've compiled, if we sell them as a stabilized cash flowing operating machine, that opens us up to institutional buyers, those hedge fund guys that don't want to hassle with smaller properties. If in one transaction we can sell our 250 unit portfolio in based around this one hub that we've been operating as a well-oiled machine, they're going to buy it based on those numbers, because they're going to buy the whole thing. They're going to buy at the actuals of what we're operating on, and our higher income and our lower, they don't care about our basis, but our lower expense ratio than if an individual buyer was looking at a 40 unit property. So we're buying at a discount, we're operating it better, and then we can sell at that higher achieved potential, that higher ceiling that you were talking about, based on the ability for the new buyer to be able to come in and keep operating at the same level we're doing. We've done the hard work of piecing together the machine, and then we can just package it together and hand it off and sell for a much higher exit price per unit than we would have as if we were selling off 30 units here, 50 there, 70 here, 40 here. They're all going to be per unit. They're not going to go for as much because of all that we've talked about. So we're kind of doing all three in a full cycle. We're going to get all three benefits of this this business plan, this call it competitive advantage. We're going to buy cheaper, operate cheaper, sell higher than anybody else in the game for that particular individual property of 40, 50 units.
Yes, we have turned it into something different, right? And therefore can sell it as the new thing. That's interesting that, well, first, it opens up the market of buyers, right? And we can sell it as the numbers in aggregate. But if need be, if we had to sell, had's the wrong word, but if it's proved to be
decided to sell.
To sell one of the properties, any given property, because of the system it's in, is making more money than it would have otherwise. Therefore, its operating income is up. Therefore, its price is up. So there's the possibility of individual pieces having a higher exit price, and then the even better, bigger possibility of selling the whole portfolio.
Sure.
However many units. So,
yeah. So if we were to sell, let's just say for each, let's just say there's one 40 unit and it's a part of the 250 unit portfolio. If we sold it by itself, we probably would not get as high unless somebody made us an offer. Just a high, for whatever reason, maybe they're doing a 1031, whatever. Like it could happen. But more than likely, we would not get as high of a price for that 40 unit if we sold it individually than if we sold it as part of the big portfolio. But that being said, we've already so maybe not as high as if we sell the whole portfolio, but we're above where we would have been.
Yeah, that was what I was saying, is that comparing it to having just operated as one individual thing, if you sold that one property, it has been making more money, therefore it will have a higher price than if it had been operated individually.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I meant. In both of these scenarios, one is a bigger win, but both is a win. That's basically the definition of the competitive advantage we're talking about, right? I mean, there's an advantage to either way you go with that, right? As far as like your positioning upon exit, whether that be selling a whole portfolio or selling one. Because I mean, there's also scenarios where it would be like, makes sense just to exit one of them for some reason, but not want to leave the entire market, right? So
sure.
Okay, well, I think a good place to kind of bring this around and wrap it up here is, we've been talking about this from the GP perspective while mentioning
operations
while mentioning the investors, but and of course, in the end, the amount of income we're making obviously goes back to the investors, and that's how we keep doing this.
Yeah, better returns to the investors is the result of all these things working in our favor.
But bringing it back to the beginning of the process, this attempt to scale laterally is a way to enact a mission as well as have a competitive commercial advantage. So we should just talk about, just reiterate that part of it as well.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of kind of this. What part of why I'm so excited about it is that buying smaller properties means smaller amount to deploy per purchase yes, there's some higher costs of like the legal fees and things that it takes to drop the paperwork. So acquisitions are more expensive on that side in terms of what we have to do to bring it to our investors. But what we do is that allows, let's say for a 40 unit property, we may only need $1.5 million, $2 million worth of equity. That's a lot easier to raise. We can keep the minimums a lot lower and get a lot more people involved and started than if we have to, in the 250 unit scenario. Now we're at $100,000 is our minimum investment. We're only accepting accredited investors because the checks are going to have to be big. We're raising $10-15 million to buy that property. But if we piece together the same amount of units, but we do it in chunks that we can basically bring on investors with, maybe a $20,000 minimum investment, I can get a lot more people started. We get after CVI's mission to connect people with the advantages of real estate investing at the earliest, lowest level possible. We get after all of those parts of our mission while still accomplishing outsized returns by operating the mall the same way we would a larger property with the same efficiencies, same better returns. We're able to do it with much smaller investors or smaller investment minimums, I could say, that get more people involved.
Yeah, and one, just the simple fact that the minimums are lower, the amount that you need to be able to be a part of it is lower to get started, or maybe it's your second or third, but this is where you're at. However, whatever that scenario is, but also not only are we bringing on people with smaller minimums, but then each time, right? Maybe we have one, I don't know, let's say first half of the year, and somebody who wants to get involved is just not ready yet for whatever reason. And then we come back with another one 3 to 6 months later, and they're like, oh, now I'm ready. Like, now I have it. I got it. Right. I got there. Everything is ready.
Sure. Yeah. I'm convinced. I've talked to the wife. She's on board. We've seen what you've done with the previous ones. We're able to do it more often because we're not draining every ounce that all of our investors have all at once. And, with, hey, everybody's bring on your $100,000 and then we'll wait a couple of years for you to store back up. We can do,
and as we recruit people who want to get involved, as more people get involved with us, here we go. We just keep it rolling. And then as we've talked about, the exiting and re-entering plan as well, where, one is sold, you can roll it over. So it enables a flexibility that maximizes our investor pool, I guess is a way to say that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So it meets the mission and it maximizes what we're attempting to do. So that's very cool. That's something I really love about it. So, all right, well, probably wrap it up there. That seems like a good place to end.
Yeah, we've rambled a good amount today
on the mission. Yeah. As always, guys, we appreciate you listening. And if you have any thoughts, comments, if you want to reach out, we'd love to hear from you anyway. The Substack, Spotify, DMs, YouTube comments. We appreciate it as always. And we will say goodbye now and hope to see you on another edition of the Get Invested podcast.
See ya.